As a student, our most important task is to learn, and to learn most often than not new content, some of which might just be easy to understand at first sight, and some may not even sound reasonable at first. As students, our biggest wish is to learn this content effectively. This is what brought me to this series of how to study effectively. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Samuel. I'm a second year medical student in Russia, and I make videos about medicine, productivity, effective learning, fun facts, literally about anything. And welcome to the episode 1 of the series of how to study effectively. And this is just going to be taking us 3 weeks, 3 videos that will be split into 3 weeks. A couple of weeks ago, I uploaded a video having this similar title, and here's why I'm actually starting a series on this same title. Listening to Ali Abdaal, of course, I'm a big fan of his. Listening to some of his videos on Skillshare on YouTube, I learned some things about productivity, being a big fan of productivity. I learned some things about productivity which I can actually apply to learning. He said to be productive, there are 3 phases of our lives, or to be a learner, like I said, there are 3 phases of our lives. There's the pilot, there's the plane, and there's the engineer. The pilot is concerned with setting the course of the plane or the direction the plane is meant to follow. And the plane is concerned with just following the instructions and direction set by the pilot. And finally, the engineer is just concerned about the efficiency of the whole traveling process. Now, bringing this to learning, we are the pilots when we plan what we're meant to study and when we're meant to study. So if I wake up in the morning, I'm in the pilot's mode when I say, okay, today I'm meant to study histology, I'm meant to study biochemistry, or what have you. And I'm in the engineering mode when I use some specific study techniques like active recall, Feynman's principle that I'm going to be talking about soon. When I use my device like a laptop, or even just a note, buying a note, or keeping our study places clean. And this is what I actually talked about in this video that I was talking about. Speaking of which, if you have not actually watched that video, how to study effectively, be smart and save time, something like that, I'll drop the link up there, so you should check the link out and make sure to watch it before you continue this video. And so finally, we're going to be in the plane mode when we actually do this studying. The way the video is going to be structured is that I'm going to be first discussing the problem of understanding what we're actually doing wrong, and I'm going to be talking about how to actually solve this problem, the right things for us to be doing, or how to make efficient what we have actually been doing before. And finally, I'm going to be talking about the importance of understanding. Why do we really actually need to understand the content? So the first part of the video, every student knows that when you're learning, the most important part of your body that is involved in learning is your brain. I believe that when we study or when we write notes or highlight, we are engaging the brain. But yeah, we are engaging the brain, but not in the right way that we're meant to be engaging the brain. Book Make It Stick that I've been reading over a while now, I've been forcing myself to actually finish it, and it's been hard. In that book, the authors ruled out the fact that we should be rereading or writing notes or highlighting. And you know, that is what most of us do. We love to read, and then we decide to come back after a while to reread, and then we come back after a while, or while we're even reading, we highlight or take notes. And that's what we actually loved doing. But I'm going to be talking about how we can really make these processes effective. In this book, they believe that when we're studying and we're writing notes or copying some things, some important parts of our textbook down or highlighting, the brain is being engaged, but the brain is doing, most importantly or most often than not, a passive work. Learning is not meant to be that easy for the brain. It's meant to be a little bit strenuous, a little bit hard for the brain, because when it is hard, the brain is really doing work. But when it is easy, the brain can easily move to passiveness. Is there something like that? Now, how to study the problem of passive reading? As students, what we actually want to be doing is active recall. And active recall, I started using it over a few weeks now, and it's been a game changer for me. We have probably been using active recall, but we're probably not using it the way I'm going to talk about it. And it's this way I'm going to talk about it. It's just going to make everything efficient for us. Now, the aim of active recall is just testing ourselves on a particular content And what we probably have been doing before is testing ourselves after we study a topic or after we have finished a whole book or something like that. Because before, I love to read a whole topic, just read through and then go write a review or write a test about it and test myself, do I actually understand this content? But what we want to be doing in Active Recall is not testing ourselves after the study, but even during the study. And this will bring me to a subtopic under Active Recall, the Feynman's principle or Feynman's technique. And Feynman's principle or Feynman's technique was developed by an American physicist who is also a Nobel laureate. Feynman's principle under Active Recall is just that when you are studying, you study a particular part or a particular paragraph of what you're studying, the content, and then you stop and pause and ask yourself, does this actually make sense to me? If it does make sense to me, if I'm required to explain this to a 5-year-old, how am I going to explain it? And you see that if you try to take this test, like, does this actually make sense to me? Can I actually, what did I just read? And then if I'm asked to explain this to a 5-year-old, how am I going to do it? So we see that when we are planning to do this, explaining to a 5-year-old does not literally mean bringing a 5-year-old and actually start explaining to the 5-year-old. But it means that we understand the fact that our knowledge is higher than the 5-year-old, or understanding is better than the 5-year-old. So for us to make the 5-year-old understand this concept, we have to use simpler terms, simpler words, and this makes the brain work harder. So the brain is not just being fed, the brain, we're not demanding from the brain, so okay, you just read this part, now tell me what you've just read, now explain to me what you've just read. And not just explain to me, but explain to me in your own words and in a simpler term, and that makes the information stay better. And this is what my friends and I actually do. My friends, let's say Vivian just finished reading a particular topic. What she likes to do is call someone who has not read the topic, someone like me, I read late, and she explains to me the concept of everything that she has read, and it makes it stick for her. Or when Evelyn and I actually watch a movie, for a couple of weeks now we've been watching the medical series Dr. House. So when we're watching this movie and they mention something she has read or something I have read that she has not read or something she has read that I have not read, we pause the video or we pause the movie and I literally ask her, okay, explain to me, what does this thing mean? And because I've not read it, she has a better understanding, so she has to explain it in a simpler term to me, and this helps her for the information to stick to her brain and stay longer, and helps me to scope the subject, which I'll be talking about maybe sometime soon, scoping the subject. Now to note taking and highlighting, we can't actually stop taking notes or stop highlighting. And the way I've solved this problem is that as a medical student, I know there are a lot of things I need to understand or a lot of things I have to remember. The way I study is that, of course, when I use my laptop to study, on one side of the laptop I have my Notion app open, and the other side of the laptop I have my textbook open. And Notion app is just a productivity app I use to plan my day, plan my school timetable. Even this video, I use it to plan it, and every single thing I do in my life, I practically use Notion. And I'm going to be talking about Notion very soon in a video or something like that. So when I'm studying, I have Notion open and I have my textbook open. So instead of me writing out notes that I'll come back and reread and I'll just keep on feeding my brain, while I'm reading, I will just keep on typing questions on Notion, and I will use the toggle effect. Toggle effect is like I just type the questions, it doesn't show the answer. So there's a toggle, you press the toggle and then you type the answers. So I type the questions, I type the answers if necessary, and then there are a lot of questions like that. I arrange them according to topics, according to books, according to subjects. So when I use spaced repetition to come back to read this topic, maybe after a few days, 5 days or something like that for revision, I don't reread. So it's like I've fed my brain before, I'm not coming back to refeed my brain. Now I'm coming back to demand from my brain. So instead of rereading, I just go through the questions. Okay, so what is facilitated diversion? And then I try to answer it in my brain before I open the toggle and check the answer. Some people use flashcards for this, or you could just even use your notes, write the questions in your notes and write the answer somewhere else where you're going to check later. So I ask myself these questions, and if I see that I don't know it, I will flag it red, blue or green or something like that, so that when I come back to study again in the future, I know that these ones are actually harder for me to remember, so I have to check it again. This one is red, this one is green, this one is yellow. And that is the importance of spaced repetition that we'll talk about in the next video when we're talking about remembering what we've actually just learned. Quick recap: the main importance of active recall is that we're not just feeding our brain the content, but we're feeding our brain the content, and we are also demanding from our brain what we've just learned. So my brain is just not eating, so please give us, show us what you've eaten. Brain is just not eating the content, but I'm asking, okay, you've just eaten, so show me some results, like show me some changes. That's just the basic principle of active recall or Feynman's technique. On this video, coming to the importance of understanding, we can't really overemphasize the importance of understanding a content, because why we actually learn is because we want to use the knowledge sometime in the future, apply the knowledge. So we are in medical school because we want to save patients. You are in the engineering school because you want to be able to construct some things later. So you need to understand the content so that you can be able to effectively apply the content. In fact, for you to even write exams, you need to really understand the content before you can remember. There's nothing you are going to remember if you don't understand the content. So the main basis of learning that I'm going to keep on saying throughout these 3 videos is that we first understand the content. We have to first understand the content. That's the first step to effective learning. That's been it. Thank you guys very much for watching this episode, and we have 2 more to go. If you loved this video, make sure you drop a like. If you have any thoughts or something to tell me, make sure you drop a comment, technique, or anything about what I've just talked about. Make sure you drop it in the comments. Don't forget, if you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe and join the crew very, very fast. Subscribe and join the crew right now. And catch you guys very soon in the next video. Very, very soon in the next video.